just kind of tell me what your view of the jail is as far as how it relates to all those issues, how it relates to, as it relates to inmates, specifically, you know, contracting out for either state or federal prisoners, and what the sheriff's role should be in that.
Number one, I think as the road, the jail has very dedicated employees. They're hardworking, and for the most part, they're on a run from the time they get there till they leave. As I said many times, the jail, I think, to some is an easy target. The jail was built prior to me being sheriff. Is it expensive to keep somebody in the jail? Yes, it is. But what's it cost you to stay at home? If you threw your doctor visits, your dental visits, your toothpaste, your clothes, your food, your medicine, all of that onto your daily or onto your house payment and tax payment. This is stuff that we have to give these people. It's expensive to have somebody there. The majority of the costs for the jail are fixed costs. So until we get that jail paid off, a lot of those costs are way out of my control. Back in 2009, the comptroller did a request by the county board to see what the cost was, and at that time, I believe you take away a lot of the fixed costs. The actual cost was like $7.49 a day is what it costs to house an inmate.
Well, that would be the difference if they let one guy go. That's how
Right.
much you'd save.
Yeah. So, but if you figure everything in, it's the $52, you know, is what we look at, but I think now it's up to like $92 a day with everything figured in.
And change.
Yeah. So, the jail is something we have to have. And I think that we do a very good job. Right now, the state jails, about 90% of them are down for inmate counts.
The county jails in the state.
Yes. And I have done an email to the sheriff's group, and one of them says, I've been sheriff for 14 years. I've never seen counts this low. Dane County Sheriff said that they have not seen counts this low since 1993 when they did their addition.
Because of diversion programs and alternative programs?
That's the only thing everybody can think of. Because I checked, our numbers are almost identical for booking. But yet our inmate count is down. So we're still getting people arrested. People are still coming to the jail, but for whatever reason, they're not returning after court. So state inmates, state started out very good. And this was prior to me being in office. Believe that it was about $62 a day is what the state would pay. They paid for virtually everything. Eventually what the state did is they were threatening to pull their inmates. The sheriff started to make out deals simply because they had that revenue figured into their budget. And we're down to what we are today, and now we do the transporting, we take care of the medical, prescriptions, all of that. A year ago, I warned the county board that the state was going to be starting a new program in January of this year. And they were telling us at that time that we would no longer have our contract where we housed state inmates. What they wanted us to do was sign a contract that took early release inmates that violated and had to return back. So rather than go back to prison, they would come to the county jail. After investigating that, I said, no, I was not interested, simply because these are people that may have left prison that have health issues. Maybe they have an addiction. Maybe they have mental health issues. And when somebody right now goes into prison, they go over to Dodge Correctional and they are run through all these series of tests. And then they are distributed to whatever prison they go to. This wouldn't happen now. They would come to the county jail and the county would be responsible for all this expense because that would be part of the contract.
Would the county the county would be required to test them, or is it just a good idea that they would
The
get
county,
battery?
the county would be required to satisfy their needs.
Assess them medically, yeah.
Yeah, satisfy their needs. So if they come in with an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, anything no different than any inmate that comes in there right now, they're our responsibility.
Well, let me ask you this, do you see it as a possibility that the Columbia County Jail could someday be fully self-supporting, or even a source of revenue for the county?
Well, I think for that to happen, the top floor would have to be open. A very good example is we have 144 beds that we call secure. That's the people that can't walk out and go to Huber, get a job, do whatever. We have 136 filled. So, and I think that is part of the problem that during this campaign is that they don't understand that holds 240. That 240 includes 96 Hubers. We don't have that many secure beds without, if we open the top floor, that's another 96. But also you're looking at probably in the ballpark of $1.2 to $1.5 million just to hire staff for that.
Just to be open for...
Yeah. And then you're doing the same thing that we're doing right now. You're relying on a contract. And at any time, that contract can be stopped, and now you're sitting with all the staff that you just hired. It's a big risk. I'm a firm believer that top floor should not be open until we need it for our own people. Because then you need the same amount of people to run that floor, whether it's our people or people that we have contracted with.
So
Let me just, okay, I'm sorry, go.
So do you think that that's something that should be strived for, that the jail should, in fact, be seen as primarily as a revenue source, or is it?
I think the jail should be looked at as a revenue source, but I think that what my job is and the administration job is to fill the unopened beds. And again, this is something that's hard because as we were talking with the state, the federal government, great contract. I shouldn't say contract because it isn't a contract. They won't sign one. Theirs fluctuates. Their people depend on arrests. It's not that they're sitting in prison like the state inmates are. So if they have a lot of federal arrests, our count goes up. If it goes down and...
The number fluctuates.
Right, and the feds are down nationwide per the marshal. So it's sort of to sit back and put a dollar amount, it's very difficult because it's easy. The federal inmate count a week ago fluctuated by 19 in 2 days.
Well, let me follow up with that if you don't mind. A couple questions come out of that then. So obviously if you have a state or federal inmate, that's a secure bed that has to be filled.
Correct.
And so you're saying that you have 144 secure beds without opening the other floor, and 136 were filled just on average, or like in the last week?
In our last week, and these are one of the things, that I brought something here for Lynn, oh, I'm sorry, it's right here. This is our monthly for my board meeting.
That was just from yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right here, under secure, which is male and female, we had 136, we can hold 144. Last month, we had 111. Our Hubers, we had 60, we can house 96. So you can see right there from 1 month, it fluctuated by 11 people.
What happens if you would have gotten to 145?
They'd have been on the floor. So, and again, here's our state and federal inmate. And again, we have no contract with the federal government.
When you say on the floor, you mean?
They would sleep on the floor.
They would literally sleep on the floor,
Yeah.
Okay. And that actually, the federal state leads me to my next question. You say there is no federal contract.
Correct.
They just call and say, we've got an inmate.
We have an agreement with them. We're actually what they call a hub. It's where the bus stops.
Okay.
They will not give us a contract for X amount of beds per day.
Okay.
Because they don't know where the count is. The state has a contract with us for 20 beds, but it's only if it's filled. So if a state inmate is transported out to a different location for court, if we have 19 people, 19 state inmates, they pay for the 19 until that other one comes back. But the federal government says, we don't know. You may have 35 people one day, and you may have 5 the next week. And that's something, again, that is all based on their arrest, so, that is part of the problem right now. You've got the local population of the inmates is down for whatever reason, even though this month it did go up. You have the state contract that says technically we have 14, we should have none. They told us that they were gonna start pulling them in January of this year. And so every day that we go by with a state inmate is actually more than what we thought.
Well, if the population of the jail is trending downward, why can you not divert money from the resources from the jail to getting deputies onto the road?
Because a lot of the revenue from the jail is already spoken for. It's like I asked when, with the 1.5 million that I've been under budget, why can't I use that for my revenue source for the other deputy? That's already been accounted for. So it is going back in, and to the people on the other end that handle the money, my guess is that they are using for shortfalls on other departments, using this money. But again, that's just speculation.
I think, didn't they end up deciding that they were indeed gonna use some of that surplus to help pay for the Cambria?
That was one of the things they looked at, but now
Yeah.
with the state saying, July 27th of this year, I received a letter from the state saying that they have no money in their budget for 2011 to house state inmates in county jails,
Any county jail.
any county jails. So as stated, with the 20 inmates per day that we have right now, or the contract for, that's $365,000 revenue.
That could change, that could very easily change between
It
now and.
could be zero.
Could be zero.
Well,
So it's very hard for the county board to sit back and say, okay, we're gonna let you use that revenue that you've been showing you're bringing in, but we're being told we may not have a good share of that revenue. And I think that's part of the issue. And the bad part is that the state of Wisconsin, their budget cycle is after ours. So we have to have ours set before they set theirs.
just a couple, again, clarifications. You said you think about 1.25 million initially, or a year to start up the closed floor?
It'd be, last that I had heard in it, we haven't looked in it because, like I said, unless our population gets
Right.
high enough. Last I had heard it was 1.2 million,
1.2.
and that would.
For personnel alone, or for other administrative utilities, things of that
That
nature?
would, no, the utilities doesn't make a
Okay.
difference. That top floor, because there's classrooms that are in there, the rec areas up there. So that floor is heated and air conditioned right now.
So it's not just like, I mean, I guess people picture it, it's not like this dust gathering on
No,
the jail
no.
cells. I mean, there's stuff up there that.
No, but all you
Okay.
need right now is the personnel. If we had the personnel, and we have used that floor, when construction has been done in the other areas
Sure.
of the jail, we will move the people up to that floor.
But that's a startup cost, or that's what it would be every year?
That would be every year, that's
Okay.
wages and benefits.